exactly 1 year from that day, it was 1,000 of us, and one day got laid off because they only needed one person to run the AI, not the other 1,000 that programmed it.
Hey there, it's Marley Majcher. Before we dig in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell because you definitely don't want to miss another glorious disaster here on Every Day's a Train Wreck. Because missing an episode, now that would be a train wreck. Let's get to it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm your host, Marley Majcher, and I've got a great guest for you, my friend, Tara Weisner, who has come straight to you from doing another one of my bestie, Simon T. Bailey's podcast. And when I get an email from Simon, it says, Mark, you need to have this girl on your podcast. I'm like, here you go, Tara, here's the link to book. So we're going to talk about AI today, the good, the bad, the ugly. There's not even that much ugly to me. I just think it's so exciting. And Tara's going to tell us how to not be afraid of it. But I'm going to let her do that. So welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. And jump in. Like, give us the backstory.
Well, let's do it. Well, I actually am so excited to be here with you because I remember attending one of your events like eons ago in Los Angeles and seeing all the incredible things you've done and getting to be, on the show today after all of our adventures is just so exciting to come back and continue to the party goddess evolution,
Yes, it has been quite an evolution, I will tell you. Yes, back in the day, those were crazy.
It's a good time. I went to an event and I met you and Simon at that event, and then we went to the after party and we had a great adventure, and it's been a lot of fun, building empires together and in parallel. So I was on Simon's podcast, Amplify Hope, and we talked a lot about what is happening in the world of AI. And just to give you that backstory, for the last 10 years, I've been working in advertising. So I create ads and we would film them. We would come up with ideas and film them. And it would take, weeks, months to come up with all these ideas. And then you'd have to get all the people in place. And, inevitably something would go horribly wrong, just like with events, you'd have to put a fire out somewhere, some way. Somebody wouldn't show up, somebody wouldn't do their part, a fire would break out, like every day's a train wreck, right?
Yeah.
So you were always navigating these kinds of situational circumstances with advertising and big productions. Like for big brands, you're looking at a $15,000 to $30,000 price tag, and like I said, a sort of 5+ week production schedule. And about 9 months ago, I learned how to use AI to create images and videos and replace that process in a matter of days and with no team. So what that looked like for me was I could help a lot more people a lot faster. I could charge a more reasonable price point. So it's now available to smaller businesses or brand new businesses or growing businesses. Our price points are $1,500 or $2,500, depending on if you want a 30-second ad or a 60-second ad. So it's really affordable. And then my background in advertising was also, like I can still help you distribute that too. But again, I use AI for that too. So I can reach more people faster. And the reason all this came about was because I had a corporate advertising job for about 4 years. And for the last year of that job, we trained an AI to replace all of the campaign managers and strategists. And when they first introduced it to us about 3 years in, and this is the world's largest retailer, like this was a big, big corporation. The first thing I said was, you won't need us if you have this. And they're like, oh, no, we need people. We need people to run the AI. And they just don't need as many people, right? So we programmed it. And then exactly 1 year from that day, it was 1,000 of us, and one day got laid off because they only needed one person to run the AI, not the other 1,000 that programmed it. So that was about 2 years ago. And I decided then, instead of getting pissed off about it, I was just going to figure out how to be that one person, like how to be the person that runs this,
How did you do that? Like, how did you become the one person, and what has changed in the process? Like, if we can get more granular for people who aren't familiar with the process, like when you say it took X amount of time in the old days, with the big team and big budgets, and walk us through, like, we used to do it this way. Now, fast forward with AI, it's done this way. So talk about like the people crunch number that goes down, the time crunch number, the cost crunch, and like the more granular process.
And it's a fun process. And I think, for so many people, they're still doing it this way, which is great. So you have a creative person that comes up with a script or a storyboard.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the designers, if you need sets or if you need costumes or something like that, will come in and help you bring that to life. Then you have photography, like shot designers or videographers that will come in and get those different angles and scenes for you. Then you have, the client themselves, who usually thinks that they're the producer or the director and they're an expert. So you're dealing with a lot of different opinions. So you have a lot of different production meetings, I call them. I don't know how productive they were, but but we got the ball rolling. And then you finally do all of that for the actual shoot day, which is usually 1 or 2 days. And usually you have a second day plan for any edits or retakes or something like that if something went wrong on the first day, which it usually does. And then you have a whole set for that. So you have a crew. So you have, sound, lights, costume, makeup, hair. You have a whole set, catering, like, you got to feed the people.
And pause 1 second, because that second day is pretty much just set up like to make sure that whatever you got the first day, you actually got it. It uploaded, downloaded, translated, whatever it was supposed to do. And then if you didn't, or even if you did and you didn't like it, you have to redo it. Then you have all that stuff in place to redo any piece of it, which you're not really going to know until you reviewed the tape from the day before, right?
Like after you cut for the first day, you'll then look at everything you have and decide that night if you need a second day, if you need a retake. And a lot of times you're reserving spaces for 2 days, and usually you do need to use them, but sometimes you don't, and you don't get that money back either. So but then you also have your editing team. So the shoot day is, you get the puzzle pieces together, and you get everything in place. You make sure you have everything you need, and then you turn it over to your editing team. And your editing team can be a number of different people, or it could be one person. It depends on the complexity. If you're adding in, and this is the funny part, so AI has actually been around since the 1950s. They've been using it to synthesize music. They've been using it in movies. I mean, they've been using it all over the place, but now it's just available to everyone. And I think that's what's freaking people out, is because they're like, well, how do I use it?
So how was it? So when you say, like, can you be specific about how it was being used in the 50s and to synthesize music? Like, what was taking place when it was used then? And why wasn't it available? Like, why couldn't everybody access it then?
I think it's a similar thing as like the internet. It's the same analogy. And I'll answer that question, but I want to also, and in order to have this computer run on this, internet sort of connection, they had a whole room full of computers.
Right.
Right. They had this big monster, massive computer. And then fast forward 50 years into the 1990s, when it becomes available to everyone, it's a much smaller, compact thing. And that's the same thing with the music, right? In order to synthesize music and things like that. I mean, Bob Marley famously used it in the 1960s and 70s for his Exodus album, and what they did was with the mixing of the sound. So adding in music that they didn't actually create. So it was recorded music, or it was just beats that they would synthesize. So the music itself came from a computer.
How we use it, or at least how I use it, is you give the AI prompts, right? And then the longer you use it, the better it gets at interpreting kind of your brand, your message. How did that work back then in music? Like how would you have said to you might not know the answer to this, but how would Bob Marley have said, create the music this way, or we want a beat that is X, or would there just be pre-programmed beats and then the music editor would drag them out? How How would it work?
Yeah, so they would have different recordings of different sounds and different music, and they could just layer them on top of
Ah, okay.
live recordings. Yeah,
So it was effectively like baking a cake, right? It
exactly.
was like you got all your ingredients on the table, and we know chemically you're going to need eggs and you're going to need, vegetable or whatever it is you're going to need to put this cake together. And then you could add frosting on top, or you could add Meghan Markle's, dried flowers on top. Like you just could keep putting your signatures on it or in it
Exactly.
once you had the structure. Okay.
I think it's really important to keep it simple, That's a great question. And I love analogies because they help me too, like visually understand, okay, if this has been around for so long, I mean, and even in the editing process of the last 10 years, and I mean, I've been in advertising since I was 6. I did my first national commercial in 1987.
Oh, what was it? I didn't know that.
It was for Better Homes and Gardens. I pretended to play the piano, and then I started doing the Disney and Universal because I grew up in Orlando. So it was, I mean, and you made a ton of money for a
Yeah.
day or two,
Right.
and it's because these were nationally syndicated. They took your images and so I've been in the industry for so long, and to just kind of be in front of the camera. Also was a model for a long time, which was really soul destroying, and sad. I've never met so many insecure, extremely beautiful people in my entire life.
Is there anybody, by the way, that says modeling isn't soul destroying? Like, does anybody say no? It like, because I just saw the thing where the most beautiful girl in the world, or the one that was named when she was like 5 years old, the most beautiful girl in the world, and she just got married, and she is still beautiful, and the husband is hot. But I was like, she's like, I guess you can't say to her like, oh, most beautiful bride in the world or whatever. But what, like, is she think it's soul crushing? Like, does everybody think it is? And except in the beginning when they start it.
I think it's always a doorway to something, like with everything that has power, like with AI, well, like with the internet, like with beauty, with everything that has any kind of power that comes along with it, you can use that power for good, or you can use it to let it destroy you.
Right.
And that was my experience, the second part, right? So I became so accustomed to getting everything that I wanted, and making a lot of money, and just I lived in a delusional place.
Because you were good looking, had the talent had been recognized, and the world at that time, like basketball players, etc., is paying a premium for that, and therefore it becomes like, well, this is what I should get, right?
Yeah, I mean, people don't see you as a person anymore. They see you
Got it.
as like arm candy, or I didn't know who I was. Honestly, I wasn't sure because I was always just told, okay, today you're this character, and today, and
Ah,
I do think, and this is a good example, and I don't mean to down like bash anyone, but let's take Cindy Crawford and her daughter Kaya for example.
yes,
Cindy Crawford has it. Okay,
yes,
she has it. No question. No one can argue that she
yeah,
has it. Now, her daughter, who is
mhm,
equally as beautiful,
yeah,
but grew up with everything, didn't
mhm,
have to put in the same kind of fight that Cindy did, didn't
mhm,
have the famous mole.
mhm.
When you see her on the runway, even though she's modeling, you see she doesn't have it. It's not
Got
there.
it.
You know
Okay,
what I
got
mean?
it.
So it's like you either have it or you don't have it. And I think that it comes from this internal
Mm,
level of desire and devotion, and you are modeling is acting. If you're on a runway, and I still believe to this day at 45 years old that runways are everywhere,
mhm.
and my clothes should not be wearing me, I'm wearing them. But it's all what's happening in your mind. It's all that. And if you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth and you don't have to work hard, you're just like, yeah, I'm pretty, look at me. It's a different kind of experience than if you're like, I am the best in the world. Watch this trick.
Right. And I like what you're saying because it goes back to a theme that we've talked about on many podcasts actually about grit. And
Hmm.
it's the piece where, like, I was having a conversation with a girlfriend last week, and I was talking about we've just switched platform, our CRM platform, to Go High Level, and I've used Kajabi, I've used all these other things. And she was like, "Oh, why did you switch to that?" And I said, I put it off for a while. I wasn't going to do it. And then, everybody said how much more capability it has. And you can do SMS, and you can do all these other things with it. And so I decided to check it out. But then, like a lot of things, platforms, before I moved, check it out. You talk to different consultants. They're all going to charge you $1 gazillion a month to do this and this and this for you. And I was like, yeah, no more with that, where somebody has a massive leverage over me, where I don't know what I don't know. Right. So anyway, I was telling her how I had jumped in and signed up for this, whatever, certification for this thing that takes like 40 hours. And she's like, "Do you want to be an admin?" And I was like, "No, but what I do want to know is what goes into it, like from the backstory, what's really involved." Because I think that's a great way for you to know how much you're willing to pay for something, right? Because you know how much time it takes and how annoying it is, et cetera, et cetera. And then to me, I just didn't, I say I don't want to be, I want to be unable, I don't want to use that word, but where you just can't have the wool pulled over your eyes as much. Well, in hindsight, I've done that with a lot of different programs, and that comes with experience, because you get screwed by different service providers, and then you just go like, enough is enough. I'm going to know the back end, or I'm going to know how to post my own blogs on WordPress. Anyway, that's a very long way of saying I use my brain, and then my inner core changes, right? And so then I can be thrown off my game. So if somebody says, "Okay, now go do this live TV thing," well, because I've set it up before, I set up 1 million of them before, and because I did the tease earlier, and because I did the this or that, if they're all of a sudden like, "Oh, you got to go 5 minutes earlier, 10 minutes late, or we're not going to talk about, the 4th of July, we're now going to talk about World Cup," it's like I can pivot because I've already been in all those trenches having to pivot before. I can pull it from myself, right? Like in business, they say, do what you know, because we're acting. Like you can pull it out. And I'd never thought of it that way with models, but you're right. Like the ones who are just beautiful and can just show, and I'm not saying that it's not still difficult, but they can just show up and kind of phone it in to a certain extent, because it's coming from a very different place. Cindy Crawford, from what I understand, is always a really hard worker, and I think from Chicago, and was not handed anything. It goes back to a little bit like beauty is from the inside out, not how we think of it normally as like kind people, but in terms of your performance really is from the inside out, because it does create confidence. Like I can be confident about certain things that it's like, yeah, it's like I've overstudied for the test, so bring it on,
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And look what she's done to the testament of modeling being a gateway.
Yeah.
She was the GOAT, like legends, supermodel status. You don't see that as much anymore.
Right.
Because social media has now come in and given this platform to so many more people.
Right.
Just like what happened with TikTok and Instagram, you sort of eliminated this, this jet set of people. But look what Cindy did. I remember doing her workout videos. I remember she now has a home collection. She has Meaningful Beauty. She's built a brand around, her whole thing. She puts her name on something. I mean, she married Randy Gerber, like she strategically made so many valuable, good decisions because of that word you just said, grit. She had grit. And what she ended up doing was then now you've provided everything you can to your children, and they don't need grit. So they're just going to prance around like they know what they're doing when they don't, because they don't need it. And again, no offense to Kaya Gerber. I know she's out there. I know she's working. I see her. Yeah. But you can see the difference. And it's really interesting, because people used to say that to me, "You have it." And I would always be like, well, what is it? And it's that internal, like you said, beauty comes from within. Yeah. I'll tell you a funny story. Well, it's not funny at all. It's actually very, very morbid. But I was about 15, 16, and we were doing a shoot. And this is the height, right? Like when the minute I turned 18, I was like old for a model, But at 15, 16, we were working a lot. I was signed with a lead, and we took a lunch break. And the girl that I was shooting with, disappeared for a little while. And I noticed she didn't eat her lunch. And then but she took it with her somewhere, right? She ended up going to the bathroom,
Oh.
binging it, throwing it up, and getting so sick, like something happened with her throat that they had to then call an ambulance, but we couldn't open the door to get into the bathroom because she was passed out on the floor. And this is a girl that suffered with bulimia
Yeah.
because she was so it was so ingrained that she had to look a certain way, she had to weigh a certain, and she had like body dysmorphia or something because this woman was already a waif, a young girl. She wasn't even a woman yet, and I don't know what happened to her. They wheeled her off in a gurney, and guess what? We had to finish the shoot.
Yeah, that's what's amazing. And that you're right. That is grit. And there can be all kinds of conversations around that. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you had to finish the shoot. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you have to finish the shoot. Like,
Yeah.
it has to get done. Like 2 out of 3 of my kids, when I was having them, I was in escrow for 2 different commercial buildings. One, it just happened that way. I was like, what is it that every time I have a child, I have to be signing escrow papers? But it's just like, yeah, not only do you not get time off for maternity leave or whatever, it's like, well, how could you do it's because it had to get done. It's like, what else are you going to do? If that's the life you want to lead and that you want to get into these fields and you want to, excel, you show up and do all these things that nobody else is willing to do. A lot of people are probably just like, oh my God, what happened to this girl? Like, actually, that would be interesting. I would like you to track down that girl so we can talk to her on the podcast and be like, what ended up happening with her life? Like, was that a big wake up call, or is she Elle McPherson now and we just don't know it?
I've never seen her since. I've never heard from her. I even tried to look her up on Facebook one time and couldn't find her. But I will continue to try. We'll ask Claude,
Yeah, let's ask Claude. And speaking of Claude, I've always been since it came out, the Chat GPT girl, right?
Okay.
Like, I'm telling you, Chat GPT has, I mean, is way better than my brain. Now, Claude, and I know everybody talks about Claude, and I've certainly seen the results of Claude, et cetera. So ironically, last night I was diving into Claude because I was trying to change something about my workflow. Kind of like a lot of things, you get really good at it and then you outgrow it. And I was trying to create something with our social media carousels that were a different look and I had different specific reasons of why I wanted them, right? So I was following, so, you jump into something new, and it's not like Claude is that much different than ChatGPT in terms of how you give it prompts, et cetera, but it's, different enough. But I went into this purposely with the component of, I wanted to see what Claude could do from the design aspect of laying out some of these cards basically for these carousels. Am I mistaken, or does Claude not do designs? Like, granted, this has just been my first real deep dive into trying to get it to manipulate something in a campaign I'm working on. But what's the deal? Let's just dive over there to Claude Designs for a second. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. And I mean, well, ChatGPT, a lot of people are using like Google. They're asking it questions, it's coming up with answers. And like Google, it now has advertisements. You'll also see paid advertisements are now available in ChatGPT. In fact, you can, as a business owner, and it's one of the things I recommend some of my clients, if it's applicable to their offer, to go on to OpenAI and advertise with them so that your business is coming up when people are asking, hey, what's the best podcast? So with ChatGPT, it's a tool for answering questions. It does develop your brand and voice from you engaging with it, but also images. I create some really beautiful images with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is that tool for those kinds of things. When you go over to Claude, what Claude does is it has 5 different areas. So you have Claude Chat, which is similar to ChatGPT. And again, you have to program it. You can take your there's a prompt actually where you could take everything from ChatGPT, if you've been working in ChatGPT for years, plug it into your Claude and program Claude, just like you've programmed your ChatGPT, but with a prompt. And I can send you that if you'd like, and it would be helpful.
Yes, I would like that, please.
Yes, I will happily send you that. And then so you have Claude Chat, and that's similar to ChatGPT, and that does know your brand voice. It will answer questions. You can have a conversation with it. My Claude has been my therapist, my doctor, it like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's so helpful. And then there's Cowork, and inside Cowork, you can connect a lot of things. So you would connect Canva, for example, or I use Go High Level for my clients as well. And then I also offer it as a support system for some ads that I do. So you can connect all of these things with co-work. You have all these what's called connectors.
Okay, so then just off the top of my head, it sounds like the piece that I was missing yesterday or last night when I was trying to kind of get into the Claude version is I should have been in co-work as opposed to chat, and I should have had co-work connect with my Canva where we have everything.
Correct. And you
Got
can
it.
go in and download the Claude desktop to get access to the co-work.
Got it. That's what I did. Okay, good. So I was making
I have
progress.
a number of training courses that I'm actually creating. So I am doing the AI ads for customers, but so many people are like, how do I do this? How do I do this? I have a Facebook page called AI Daily where I'm always like, try this tool, try this tool.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so because there's so much coming at us all the time. So
Yeah.
what I've found is you need to just get in the frame of mind of, okay, I'm going to just really learn this. So the other layer of Claude is Claude Code. So you can build apps, you can build websites, and you can build all kinds of things with the code. It'll code it for you. Or if you have a website that you need to like refine the code, you can put it in there as well. Then you have Claude Design.
Let me ask you a question before you move back to away from Claude Code. Can you use Claude Code to create the website in Go High Level? Like, can you get those two talking to each other?
Absolutely.
Specifically. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. And another good one, if you really want to make an easy website that I actually do mix with my Go High Level, I do an image source code, is Lovable. If you've ever tried Lovable,
Really? No.
Lovable, lovable.dev. I do not have a partnership with them, but I'm available for partnerships because I love this platform because you can
Now,
make
what do you
a
mean
website or an app.
What do you mean lovable.dev?
Lovable.dev.
Oh, lovable.dev. I thought you were saying I was like, okay, well, I've also missed who dev is. Okay, lovable.dev. Okay, now why do you love Lovable?
So there's a free plan, which is great. So people can make websites or apps for free. And it gives you like so many, AI, it'll give you credits or tokens or, whatever. You get so many. And then, of course, you get to a certain point. And they're like, oh, you can have more for $25 a month.
Yeah, $29.99.
Yeah. Like I actually did this. I reviewed all my tech stack with my CFO. And he's like, do you know so many of these things that you're paying for are already in your Go High Level? Like you can cancel all of these things. And I was like, cool, great. Like, part of me just wants to, and this is terrible, but I'll admit it to you. Part of me just wants to cancel my business credit card and then all the ones.
Exactly. And then just see, right? Just see which ones do you need? Like where does everything just shut down? Right.
Yeah.
And then you can just be like, great, that's the one I need.
Yeah. I'll give you a new number.
Yes, exactly. I love it. And okay. So then why wouldn't you just build a website, for example, in Go High Level as opposed to Lovable? Like what makes it like, because anytime you do a connection, right, even Lovable to Go High Level, even if it's got some kind of integration that supposedly works, we know that it can break, etc. So what do you like better about doing it with Lovable or when would you use Lovable as opposed to Go High Level?
Okay, great question. So Go High Level has a lot of templates. You can also build things from blank, but you do have to take the time, and they have a great AI integration inside Go High Level as well that'll build it for you. You just tell it what you want, what your colors are. You have a brand board, so it will build it for you. It just takes a little bit longer. So if you don't even have an idea of where to start, or you have an idea, but you don't know, what it should look like, you can even give Lovable like, hey, I like this website and this website. Can you show me what it would look like if I did this and this? Because I always say, and I say this to my students as well, and to my clients, like input equals output with everything, right? Like, I mean, with everything. And it's, so if you're going to tell Lovable very specifically, here's what I want, it's going to crank up a website and you can either take that code, that code and then put it into Go High Level if you like that website, or you can make some whatever changes you want. So you can take it and transfer it easily. No problem.
I guess, like, so for example, I use Evernote, and I've used Evernote for a million years. Okay. And people are like, and so it's like, why do you like, I have stickies on my laptop, and then I have Evernote, and then I have my Google Drive, which is now becoming more of my life and changing the architecture of it and all that. But for whatever reason, I take my like quick and dirty notes in Evernote because I can have my little Evernote folders and can have my pages. But to me, that's where I like dump everything. It's sort of a journal. It's bullet points. It's organized, but it's not there yet. Right. And then I go to a Google Doc or something to put the procedure. And I do that because it's just easier. It's easy to manipulate around. Right. Is that what you're saying? Like, how you could use Lovable is like, it's a kind of an easier interim tool versus just starting in Go High Level from the beginning, or no?
Absolutely. That's
Okay.
exactly it. So I've been using Go High Level. That was one of the first tools I got when I left my corporate advertising job. I got a training course. I invest in learning all the time. If somebody knows how to do something, I'm going to get that shortcut from them so that I don't have to figure it out myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have coaches for everything.
Yes.
And so with Go High Level, and again, the evolution of that, it's got so many bells and whistles and so many things that it can do.
Yeah.
And and it continues to evolve. They're having updates all the time. So the first thing I decided was, okay, I'm going to learn how to master this and then offer it as a service to people.
Mhm.
But it's still a very technical at
Yes.
times, I think, for some of my clients especially. So I have a done for you, a done with you, and a done and do it yourself option. And I make that really clear to people, because sometimes they just want to do it with me for a little while, and then I can do it myself. A lot of people want to do that. Like you said earlier, I want to learn how to do this, so I'm not paying a fortune to people to do it for me. Like,
Right.
I know.
Well, in my case, I'm okay paying a fortune to people to do it for me when they actually know what they're doing. That's the difference.
There's that.
That's the difference. And so my thing now is I use it to, like, oh, share your screen. I want to see, do they know what they're doing? Right. And then because where I would get stuck is I'd be like, this is $5,000 a month or whatever. And then you go to find out, well, they weren't using best practices, or they didn't really know. They said they knew. And then, you're redoing it again. So anyway, just to clarify, happy to pay people all kinds of money when they are actually handling their contract and business. Anyway, keep going.
Well, and you know what? It's funny, just to touch on that. So as a marketer and advertiser, right, I come across so many of these instances where people have charged them thousands of dollars every month. And then the first couple of months went great. And then they hand off to some junior associate.
Every time.
It's like the old bait and switch. And it's like, if something's working and you give somebody a level of service, why are you going to downgrade them and then charge them the same price?
Because I'll tell you why. And this is the business model I've seen over and over and over. And it wasn't until last year where it happened to me so many times in a row. It was like everybody was going to the same business school. I think it was like people were in positions, and it was like the founder or whoever, and they knew why they started their company, and it was to solve certain purposes, etc. They'd get on the calls. They're on the calls for the first couple weeks. Then their team is also on the calls. They think, oh, their team now has it and can handle it. You get passed off. But us as the entrepreneur hired the person, like our equivalent in their company, but that's no longer, they can't scale that way. And the people right below them aren't good enough they don't have that level of detail or organization or strategy, etc. So what happens? You get pushed down, and then the next thing you're like, first time, okay, second time, then by the third time you're squawking to the guy up here going, dude, this is not what I hired. Like, what happened here? I got passed off, right? And it was not a good knockoff.
Nope. It feels like, I literally have people say to me all the time, I've tried ads, they don't work.
Yes.
And it makes me so angry, because advertising is actually the second largest industry in the entire world. So obviously it works. It works. I succumb to them all the time. Like, we're getting, I actually read a study that we are probably exposed to over 1,000 different ads per day.
Yeah.
Per day.
I believe it.
If you're looking on your phone, if you're looking on social media, if you're looking at the billboards, if you're looking on television, 1,000, like, that is crazy. So you're getting inundated from every direction. And if it didn't work, that number wouldn't exist. But what's happening is people don't know what they're doing.
Right.
So there's so many people that don't know what they're doing that say, okay, or my favorite is this. They get a great ad. Like I was talking about earlier, we have high production, it's amazing ad, but then it's what happens after that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Are you putting in front of the right eyeballs? Is your messaging aligned with your ideal client? Like, is there clarity in what you're saying? Are you talking about you? Like, are you talking about your brand? No, people that are watching this want to know how you can help them, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
see that a lot of times. The messaging's off, or it's one of two things every time. Or what happens after the lead comes in? It's lead wait times. Like,
Kills
you're
you.
not getting back to them in time. So of course they're going to move on. They're going to find somebody else because now your ad got them all pumped up to solve this
Exactly. So
problem.
now they want to take action and they can't get a hold of you fast enough.
Yeah, they're going to find somebody that is your competition,
Right.
and you just paid the money for
Right.
them to get that lead.
Right. Exactly. Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's take it back to Lovables. So tell us again how you would use Lovable, let's say.
So Lovable is, and again, that's lovable.dev. And you can use it to make apps or websites just like you would punch in to Claude or chat what you want to create. So
Okay.
say you go to this site and you say, I want to make a website for my podcast and I want to pull in all of the episodes from Spotify. Here's the link. I want to add my bio. I want to add these pictures. You can attach pictures. Here's my logo. And I want it to be very upscale. And, I don't have any brand colors, but pick me out something, fun. And then go. And you will literally watch it build you a page.
That's
just
crazy.
like that. So what's great about it is, again, you can do it just like that. And so you get an idea of what it could look like. You can even do shops, stores. You could do all kinds of things. It is, and again, it's just like Claude, it has connectors in the back end. So
Got it.
you have email. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
So, like I said, one of the things I'm sort of moving into, I love creating ads. I have, a long list of clients that I love helping. But like what you just said, I'm not going to ever get to a place where I'm not hands on,
Yeah.
making sure people are getting a level of service that I would like to be delivered.
Yeah.
I actually let go of my whole team in January because I had an overseas team, and it just wasn't the same. I worked with them for like 9 months. We had training processes, handbooks, all the things. I really thought that I was pouring into them exactly the way that I wanted my business to be run. But really what it came down to, and I know this might sound a little
I know
crass,
you're
was
gonna
that
say.
they weren't doing it what I said. They weren't doing it the way that I wanted, and they weren't me. They just weren't me.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to duplicate myself. So instead of being able to duplicate myself, I then found what I could duplicate that I was doing.
Yes.
So okay, how can I make a website faster? How can I do this? How can I still check? I mean, I send weekly emails to all my clients, checking in on them, sending them reports, updates. Here's your ads. Here's your professional dashboard updates. Like, they're not asking me for these things, right?
No.
But they're
Right.
paying me money, and I want them to know I'm doing my job. This was not something that they thought of,
Yeah.
So long story short, getting rid of that extra expense, and that's exactly what it became, because your employees should always be making you money, and if they're costing you more money than they're making you, get rid of them.
We've all been there. Yeah.
As my CFO has informed me, or the worst is like when you try to help friends and family. And again, like, I don't do it anymore. I just don't do it. I will refer you to someone, but we don't have that kind of relationship. And here's the thing, and I want to say this to any friend and family member that's listening, I love you, but I want you to ask people you don't know for free stuff, and I want you to pay people that you love top dollar.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly. Because they're gonna be the ones watching your back.
Yeah. Don't screw me over.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, go do it to some stranger. So I mean, my own mother, I love her. I made her a website. She published a book, all this. I said, here's what we're going to do next. You're going to work with this lady over here, and we're going to still get along. We're going to have a good time. Yeah.
Well, it's like the same thing why you can't take advice from your husband or your boyfriend or whatever, but then, some consultant, this is the classic thing, a consultant will say, oh yeah, but, and they give you the same advice. And the person's like, well, that's exactly what I told you, but you hear it differently without, so.
It's true. I have one of my dearest friends. She's always asking me questions, it always starts, that's how it
Oh, yeah.
starts. Oh, they have oh, I just want to run something by you, and it's just like, oh, here we go.
There we go. Yeah.
And she tells me, she goes, well, I ended up hiring a coach, and it was 15 grand. 15 grand. And I was like, you're sitting on 15 grand that you can give to somebody else while you've been harassing me for
Right.
actual years.
Right.
I was like, are you serious? Like, but I
Yes.
just said, I'm so glad to hear that. Maybe you can ask them all your questions now. Yeah.
Right. You're like, that's the best 15 grand you ever heard anybody spend because it
Yes.
just got you off the hook, right?
Please, yes,
Mm, please.
it's but anyways, and again, I'm just keeping it real, and I think every business owner knows this,
Yeah.
I mean, people I had a guy who is a dear friend again. He's got a parking lot full of Porsches in his driveway. Okay. This man is a wealthy, wealthy lawyer. And we were going somewhere, I forget, to dinner, my husband and his wife. We were riding in a car, and before you know it, he's fired his guy doing his Google ads and he's hired me, like, all in this car ride. And I'm like, whoa, what just happened? And like, it all just happened really fast. And so the next day we had like an actual conversation about it, and I gave him a really good price. I said, okay, that'll be, $2,500. We'll run all of this. We'll do this ad for you. I mean, it was a really good price. It was probably like
Yeah.
half of what I would have actually charged somebody
Yeah.
for all the work
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
doing. He comes back and says, well, my budget's only 1,500.
Oh,
And I was just like, and you know what I did? And I regret this tremendously. I spent 4 months taking that 1,500, giving all of that 1,500 to a contractor to do the work, and then doing all this extra work on top
yeah.
of it. So this
Yeah.
actually cost me time and money, until again, my CFO was like, drop that client, have them work directly with the contractor. And
Yeah.
that was when I realized, like, okay, this is what we're going to do from now on. If somebody that is a friend or a family member,
Yeah.
they're going to get referred to someone. So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah.
No, I totally get it. Well, okay. What else? Like, okay. So let's go back to Claude and kind of workflows and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I was going to give you an example. So I have one client who, again, like, I'm still doing the ads, and I love the ads. Actually, one of my ads actually got selected for the AI Film Awards in Cannes.
No,
Yes,
congrats.
thank you, the
Congrats.
AI Revolution, and it was a really fun, like, Terminator style. It was really cool, and to get, I mean, this is only the third year they've had it, so to get selected for it was really neat. So I had a client come to me after I announced that on my Facebook page, like, hey, I got selected for this. And she says, hey, I've really been trying to figure out how to build an online, landing page. Like, I need to make money online. I have this program. I don't know how to do it. So I ended up starting a school community. It was a 30-day program. And I said, okay, we're going to go to Lovable. We're going to build you a website. And inside the website, we're going to have your downloadable PDF. And Lovable did this as well. She put the PDF together and then put it into Lovable, and also emails out to people once they pay. We connected it to her Stripe account. So they pay. Okay, now it goes in the email to them. Then you have your email list inside of Lovable. And then she created inside of Samcart. She uses Samcart, this whole course. So she
Oh,
did a course. And she charges, I think for this one, it was like $197. So she got 5 people to do that in one day. So she made $1,000 in a day. And she says, okay, now I'm ready to do a bigger ticket offer and a longer program. I want to do a 90-day program, and I want to do this and I want to do that. I said, great. So once you have that system and you understand,
yeah.
okay, I need to create an offer, and I need to put it in front of people that want that offer with the right messaging. And
Yeah.
then I need to deliver it, like we're talking about, with excellence and
Mhm.
concern for other people instead of your bank account. I mean,
Yep.
I feel
Yep.
like if you care about people and you help them, like, who was it that said the best way to get what you want is to help other people get it?
On so many levels, because they want to help you. You really learn it. You're going to show up and do a great job for them, etc.
Yeah. So so now she's doing a group coaching program. And again, like, there's so many people that have this mindset break of, I can't do this. I've never done this.
Right.
And now, with all of the tools that are available, and if you don't know where to start, go to my Facebook page, AI Daily. There's a plethora. I'm always there's a new tool. Here's what you can use it for. Here's a new tool.
I
So
love this. Yeah.
you have a toolbox of, okay, here's what I wish people would start thinking like this about AI. This will help them so much. Instead of using AI like Google,
Mhm.
you use it as like a toolbox. Like,
Right.
okay, I have this problem. I need to, I mean, you're not going to try to nail a hammer in a wall with a hairbrush. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, I need to find the right tool to solve this problem. And that was how I started. And I got curious about all of the things. And now they continuously come out with so much that it gets overwhelming for people. So I subscribe to a newsletter called the Rundown AI, which comes out weekly,
Cool.
and it'll just kind of like tell you, okay, here's all the things that you need to know this week. So I think you just kind of have to put blinders on and
Yeah.
say, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Here's how I'm trying to solve it. Another great example is I had a friend of mine who's in her 70s call me, and she's been working. She used to teach English in Japan in the 80s and 90s. And I told the story
Yeah.
on Simon's podcast too. And she was just devastated because she's like, they're shutting down my program. She teaches English to foreign language students in Palau.
Wow.
So she's based in San Diego. And she was really upset because she's like, I have this sweet gig, it's all remote. I wasn't planning on retiring for another few years. I don't want to lose my job. And I said, well, let's go through a process of like asking your AI, put in this prompt. And again, this is part of my school group of, where you go and you put in all of your experience, all of your desires, all of the things that you know, or that you would talk about for free.
Mhm.
And you can create an online offer. Again, we made her, so she ended up deciding she wanted to help teenagers and small children learn how to grow their money from a young age, because she didn't learn that. So yeah, so she's like, here's for teenagers, I'm going to help you get to $1,000 in your investment portfolio, and then you can build your investment portfolio as a teenager, because she didn't start doing it until she was in her 30s.
Yeah.
And even though she's a wealthy woman now, she didn't have that education. So, and as a teacher, right, she can't go and say, okay, I'm going to teach English, with these digital products. She's like, I really have a passion for this. So what was cool was we walked through this whole process of really understanding what her dream was, what her desire was as a 70-something-year-old woman. And we built this whole thing, started selling these workbooks. And again, we built it in Claude, and we put it in Lovable, and we connected the domain, we connected her Stripe, and it is operating fully functional. And now she's published her own book on Amazon. She's doing children's books. She's doing all this cool stuff, because you have to start somewhere. And that's the
Yeah.
message I want to say to people is like,
Mhm.
yes, it's overwhelming sometimes, but just start with one thing, and that action,
Yeah.
taking that action, is going to help you like really unfold what it is you're supposed to do. I've started 5 or 6 businesses at this point,
Yeah.
like real ones. Like I've come up with a lot of ideas, but real businesses that I've started and either folded or sold. And I tell you what happens is, you have to keep trying until you find that thing that hits. And so many people quit before they hit, and you just like embrace the suck. You're not going to be great at something right when you start. Just embrace it. Give yourself like 3 to 6 months, and like just go all in on it. And I guarantee you it will overcome whatever mindset BS that's blocking you from, internet abundance. You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing I really like what you're saying is I was talking to somebody yesterday on the podcast, and I had no idea about this. You can tell me if you, but she is a former senator, and she said there is a school at Yale called Campaign School. Okay. I was like, what? She said, oh yeah, they teach you all the fundraising and the marketing and all that, because, to get elected, you got to have money. I mean, not necessarily your own money, but you have to be able to raise money. And I was like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. But I had no idea there's this campaign school. And she said there's, it's called political science for a reason. She said you have to knock on, in order to win, I guess, your campaign has to knock on 10,000 doors. And 25% will answer the door, right? And so there's something that once you get to that critical mass. So I said, so really it's about just keeping knocking on those doors. And she said, totally. And then I said, that's like what the Mormons do when they're doing their missions and all this stuff. She's like, exactly. And the Jehovah's Witnesses, exactly. So like there's a plan behind it. And at the end of the day in business, it's just like, you just got to keep asking, right? Like when you're going for venture money, you just keep asking and keep pitching and then it becomes a numbers game. And I think that's what you're saying too, but with AI, I think to demystify it and make it less scary, you've just got to open the frickin' program, right? And just make an account.
Yeah, just start somewhere. Just
Yeah.
come up with a problem that you have and then
Yes.
find a way to solve it. And I'll tell you, there's a difference between solving your personal problems and solving your business problems.
Oh, yes.
Because like I said, you can do a lot of the front end stuff with AI. Like I make ads with AI, but also it's that follow up. If
Yes.
you're not getting to your leads fast enough, they're going to move on, like we talked about.
Totally.
And so for example, we started doing home service ads for, roofers, landscapers, things like that with this AI guy. And it looks like a selfie video, and it's a prompt
Yeah.
we put in. And he's like, hey, and it looks so real, but it's very like casual and like, check
Yeah.
out my buddy's company kind of thing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And then we have an instant responder. So right when somebody fills out a lead form, that person gets contacted immediately, either by email or phone. And then an AI
Is that through
voice
Go High
agent,
Level? Is that through Go High Level?
with Go High Level. An AI voice agent gets on the phone and it asks them some qualifying questions. You qualify that lead.
Yeah.
And then you can text your people who are probably out in the field roofing or landscaping or painting or pressure washing or whatever that is, and say, hey, here's a hot lead, talk to this person. Or the AI can actually set up the quote for you if you have your calendar connected.
That's crazy.
Find the things where the leaks are. And so many people don't even know where the leaks are. They think ads aren't working. They think that more leads means they have less time to spend with their family. But if you just have a real look at what in my life am I doing more than once? Let's start there.
Yes. Yes.
Like
that's great advice.
Yeah. Am I saying this more than once? I can make a video and send you a Loom link. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you can use it as a tool, like anything that has power. You can use it for good, or you can use it or it can use you. Let's put it like that.
I love it. Well, Tara, I could have you on constantly. I think I should have you on once a month to talk about what's the latest in AI. Because I think it's whether you have a small business, whether you're just in, part of a company, or whether you're stay-at-home mom. I mean, it doesn't matter. AI can help you with everything. And I love your practical focus with it. So where can people find you, come up with you, check out your stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a website called Weisner Ads. That's WEISNERADS.com. And you can book a call or submit your information. It does explain that whole process I did talk about the process of actually filming, but I didn't really talk about the process of using AI because it's so quick and easy. We just use a prompt to create a script, and it's about 10 minutes of the client's time. And then I turn those around usually in 1 to 3 days, and we just need some pictures and it's done. So if you go on to WeisnerAds.com, you can contact me that way, or I am on Instagram at Tara Patten Weisner as well. And I'm just really excited to connect with your listeners. I'd love to come back on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, Marley. I love listening to your show. I just love how simple you keep everything, and you're just like, explain it to me in a way like I don't understand, like that.
Yes, I know. So that's called the beauty of ADHD. I do not understand. Even if I thought I understood when I booked so-and-so, I did not. So yeah, I would love to. Well, you and I will wrap this one up, and then I would love to set the next one, because I think it's, as I say, I could talk about this for hours, and I love practical stuff. So Tara, I cannot thank you enough for being on. And if you guys have not already subscribed or liked or commented on our fabulous podcast, Every Day's a Train Wreck, please do. Please make sure if you want to see the video, you can see it on our YouTube channel at The Profit Goddess. And most importantly, tell a friend who maybe is intimidated by AI, who just kind of needs a new podcast to mix things up. And they're released every Wednesday. And so you can find me at The Profit Goddess on Instagram and on YouTube. And we will see you next week. Tara, I love this. Everybody go check out Lovable, and check out one more time. Your URL is
WeisnerAds.com. That's WEISNERADS.com. And I know I said I'd send you that prompt, but anybody that's watching this show, if you tell me you heard me on Marley's show, I will send them that prompt too. So.
Oh, nice. All right, you guys. So you got a big freebie. All right. Well, I can't thank you enough, Tara, and we will have you on next time. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.